In today's video, we're going to discuss a little bit about the Civil War just after the Battle of Stones River, also known as the Battle of Murfreesboro, and how a doctor was responsible for killing a general in the back of the head because he believed he was having relations with his young wife.
After the Battle of Murfreesboro, or Stone River, Bragg and his army retreated to Tullahoma for the winter. Tullahoma comes from two Latin words, tulla meaning mud, and homa meaning more mud. Bragg faced north towards Rosecrans' army, a Union army with approximately 49,068 men, to Rosecrans' army of approximately 80,124. Rosecrans had decided to camp out for the winter, waiting for the spring to renew the initial attack on Bragg, to Lincoln's displeasure. Despite motivation from Lincoln, Rosecrans camped out for the winter. Bragg's army held a line from Tullahoma to Columbia. Columbia is a little bit southwest of Murfreesboro and a little almost exactly west of Tullahoma. They also occupied some winter quarters in Spring Hill, which is a few miles north of Columbiana. The winter months followed small little battles of strength between the two armies. Nothing to go into detail at this moment about. Bragg and his generals would plan small excursions to outflank Rosecrans. Outflank means to get behind the army in an attempt to disrupt Rosecrans' supply line in the rear. One such major, General Earl Van Dorn, from Pea Ridge fame, spent his time planning additional Confederate moves throughout the winter months. General Earl Van Dorn of the Battle of Pea Ridge fame spent his time planning additional Confederate moves for Bragg throughout the winter months, leading into spring. On May 7th, around 10 a.m. in the morning, while Van Dorn was working on future plans for future Confederate moves from his office in Spring Hill, Dr. George B. Peters, a local citizen doctor, rode up in a horse and buggy and stopped in front of Van Dorn's office. The doctor walked into Van Dorn's office, being ignored by Van Dorn, hard at work making future battle plans. The doctor walked up behind Van Dorn and shot him in the back of the head. Van Dorn was a well-known womanizer, and the doctor believed that Van Dorn had had relations with his young wife. Van Dorn died, according to some accounts, Van Dorn died instantly. Other accounts said it took him 4 hours to pass away. In any event, upon the shooting, he did pass away. The doctor then went out to the front of the office, got into his carriage, and rode off north into Union lines. The doctor later on enlisted into the Union Army and was never really charged with murder.
Now, a little bit of the backstory in this. Now, apparently, Jesse had been encouraged and pressured actually to marry Dr. Peters because he was a distant, older, wealthy cousin. It was somewhat, I wouldn't say an arranged marriage, I don't think. The marriage was somewhat one of convenience, apparently, because Dr. Peters needed land, and by marrying Jesse, that would ensure him the land that he needed and the continuance of his wealth. Jesse was much younger than him. There was a 25-year age difference. So apparently she was feeling a little bit neglected at the time and unloved. General Van Dorn was in the area. He was known to be a womanizer. Apparently he was quite dashing and charming, all those things that womanizers tend to be. And when he came and he saw her, came to visit her, immediately tongues began to wag, and it was mentioned, that possibly there was some rather public canoodling between them, And common gossip was around town that there was something going on, and that they would take very long unescorted carriage rides. And, gossip has a way of traveling fast, written in what is known. Thanks for watching today's video. As always, if you enjoy our content, please do consider subscribing to the Coffee with Frosty channel. Thanks a lot, and we will see you on the next one.